Man, just a heads up, if you're an Islanders fan, you're gonna be eating good today. And I'm not saying that just because of the Islanders game later today, which I probably will try to find a way to watch, honestly. I got a lot of Isles on my fantasy teams, from Romanov to Parekh to D'Angelo to Horvat to Barzal. Oh no, Barzal's out. Anyways, we have ourselves a conversation that I wanted to go over today involving the Isles and the Montreal Canadiens, because it's been quite apparent that a lot of news about the Habs has been down in the dumps lately. We are seeing conversations about the team not performing well. We are talking about players that the Habs could be or are targeting. It's been a pretty weird few days, and I'll say that mostly because for me, making the Montreal Canadiens videos has been kind of demoralizing since all the commentary happens to be negative. Like, don't get me wrong, I like to be positive and everything, but I also am intrinsically a pessimistic person at times, so it's hard to go out there and make videos, oh yeah, Juraj Slafkovsky's gonna be amazing, don't worry guys, he's so good, he's just gonna be bouncing back from this slump soon. Like, yeah, okay, maybe it's reasonable to go out there and say that, but, you know, I kind of have to follow the tea leaves and go over what people are talking about, and narratives have not been good the past few weeks with this team. Anyways, today we're talking about a trade that the Montreal Canadiens made a few years ago that is being written about today as a potential Habs loss. And I guess you can say that it's good to take the bad with the good, because we've always seen these conversations about how the Montreal Canadiens have won trades in the past. We've made videos about underrated Montreal Canadiens trades that ended up being wins for the Habs. But now we're taking a bit of a reversal here. This show is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Go out there and check out the first link in the description to save some money on your VPN, get some free months, and help the channel out in the process. I'll also leave a link in the description to this article published on HabsFanatics.com from earlier today. This was written and published by El Honain. Trade completed between the Canadiens and the Islanders that Kent Hughes may be regretting. Okay, let's dive into this. In 2022, during his first draft as the Canadiens GM, Kent Hughes made a big move. He traded Alexander Romanov to the Islanders to acquire a first-round pick, and then he used that pick to acquire Kirby Dach from the Chicago Blackhawks. Now, this trade was a really big deal when it went down. We were still doing our NHL Draft live streams at that time, and when the trade was made, oh boy, it was seen as an absolute blockbuster move for the Montreal Canadiens, because at the time, they had a bunch of young defensemen in their system, and there was a debate as to whether or not Alexander Romanov's role with the team was all too guaranteed. He was competing with other guys on the blue line long term. You had Cayden in there, you had Jordan Harris, Jayden Struble, Arber Xhekaj, Lane Hutson inevitably because he was taken in that same NHL draft. And so trading surplus for a good, young, talented piece like Kirby Dach was seen as a very big move for Kent Hughes and the Montreal Canadiens. It was in that same Alex Newhook kind of mold, and a lot of people were super happy about a third overall pick heading over to Montreal. We had said this in the past, but it is kind of ridiculous how often third overall picks get linked to the Habs, from Pierre-Luc Dubois to the ones that actually were Habs, like Kotkaniemi, Dach, and Jonathan Drouin, so it is kind of interesting to see that dynamic continue with this trade, but we did make the video about it all those years ago, and it was a really big deal. A lot of people were super excited to see this happen, and all the comments were very positive as well. But inevitably, we saw ourselves Kirby Dach go through the growing pains that he has gone through this year. Not even this year, last year too. The guy has been hurt quite often, and that's not really within his control, but when he has been in the lineup, especially this season, he has not taken those necessary steps forward like we thought he could be able to. Kirby Dach, when he was draft eligible in 2019, he projected to being more of a Ryan Getzlaf mold, a big guy with soft hands who could make really great passes and whose playmaking ability was off the charts. It's why he went third overall, above Bowen Byram, above Turcotte, above Zegras, above Caulfield, and right behind Hughes and Kakko. There was legitimate 80-point-a-season potential out of Kirby Dach. 60, 65 assists, and a few goals here too. That's the profile he was given. But now, oh boy, things have not been looking good for this guy. And he's 24 years old now, so things are certainly taking a pretty bad turn. Meanwhile, if we go over to the defenseman the Montreal Canadiens traded away, Alexander Romanov is on pace for 24 points in 68 games this season. He has been steadily increasing his point production, and he has been crazily increasing his on-ice minutes. Take a look at the game log for Alexander Romanov. Not only will you see that he has, 7 points in his last 10 games, but he is also logging 23 minutes a night consistently. There's a 26-minute game in there, a 27-minute game. There's a 31-minute game against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Alexander Romanov has been an absolute lock on the first pair of the New York Islanders, and a lot of this does have to do with the injuries, we'll be honest with that. Mike Riley, Noah Dobson, Ryan Pulock, Scott Mayfield, you are missing 2/3 of a full D-core in the Islanders organization. So Alexander Romanov, along with all the other new guys, Perunovic, D'Angelo, Boquist, these guys are all being given a lot more than they have been used to, but Romanov has taken that in stride and he's been playing like a number one the past few days here. Let's head over back to the article and read some of the commentary that Patrick Waugh has given to Alexander Romanov. Romy is playing very physically, probably his best hockey since I've been here. He's physical, and he moves the puck well. Not to mention the amount of shot blocks that you're getting out of Romanov every single game. I mean, this is a really big-time player. And now we're thinking about contract extensions because his contract expires at the end of the season. He's making $2.5 million a year. Now we're starting to wonder, what's the dollar amount ceiling for this guy? Can he get $5-6 million a year? He's proving so much value at the ripe old age of 25 that it's really difficult to discount anything that Alex Romanov brings to the New York Islanders. So when you think about it, I mean, obviously, it's easy to say, oh yeah, the Habs traded away a guy who is now really good. Bad on them. But you also have to think about the return. The asset that the Montreal Canadiens came away with after this entire Romanov trade debacle is struggling pretty hard, and we've been seeing different criticisms laid Kirby Dach's way the past few weeks here. It's been a very up and down career for Dach ever since getting traded over to Montreal. There's been a lot of hope. I think there still is hope, to be honest, but the guy's 24 years old now, so at this point, you have to start really figuring out what it is that this player is at the National Hockey League level. He's on pace for 33 points this season. He had 38 in 58 games in his first season with the Habs, obviously slowed down due to injury again. And you do have to hope that the best is yet to come out of Dach. Otherwise, I mean, these trades that Montreal's made, they're just going to start looking worse and worse. We already spoke about the kind of limbo that these 2019 guys have gone through. Not Caulfield, I think he's fine, but like Kirby Dach, Newhook, even some of the other younger guys on the team, Laine, Slavkovsky, it's been kind of the worst time possible for all of these players to stop bringing their A-game, because now the narratives are just piling on each other. When it's good in Montreal, oh yeah, it's great, but when it's bad, it is bad. And I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below if you think this trade really is a loss all these years later. I mean, to be honest, it's only been 3 years. Which, you know, I guess it is reasonable to expect a lot of good things out of younger players, especially when you trade them when they're 21, 22 years old. It's just, for New York, they're getting so much value out of Alexander Romanov. And I'm not saying that he would have been as good or maybe even better in Montreal, but this is the kind of guy that I think would have been able to help out. Imagine a left side of Guhle, Romanov, and Hudson. You could give Hudson all the sheltered minutes in the world, and you would still have two really good shot-blocking, defensively minded, suppressing defensemen on the other pairings. It'd be pretty good, but of course that's not the reality we live in. I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section if the Habs messed up with this trade. Do you think Kirby Dach has it in him to become better and continue his career in a positive way? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.